European leaders are holding an emergency meeting in Brussels today, and U.S. automakers have been given a one-month reprieve from President Trump's new tariffs on foreign imports from Mexico and Canada. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. European leaders are holding an emergency summit today in Brussels. They're talking about how to raise defense spending for the continent by well over $750 billion. They're also alarmed over fraying ties between the U.S. and Ukraine, as well as the shifting U.S. defense posture toward Europe. Terry Schultz reports from Brussels European leaders are looking for ways to build internal support.
French President Emmanuel Macron, in an evening address, said he'll call together European army chiefs to discuss a potential peacekeeping force and says he's even considering extending the French nuclear deterrent over the rest of Europe. So EU leaders hope to decide some things about their future here in Brussels today.
Terry Schultz reporting. Vice President Vance traveled to the southern U.S. border to highlight the Trump administration's efforts to cut illegal crossings and drug trafficking. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports Vance was joined by the Defense Secretary and the Director of National Intelligence.
The trip followed President Trump's joint address to Congress, where he touted a dramatic crackdown in border crossings. Vice President Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard received a helicopter tour of the Eagle Pass area on the border and also met with local law enforcement.
Every single day that we continue to keep this border safe, that means less migrant crime, that means less fentanyl coming into our communities, that means more safety and security for the people of the United States of America.
Vance defended the administration against questions about interior enforcement. He said they are working on a plan to make it easier for those here illegally to return of their own accord, but he did not give details. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
President Trump's 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods mostly remain in effect, but yesterday he gave a one-month reprieve to the big three U.S. automakers. The auto companies' leaders warned the Trump tariffs will increase the cost of their cars by thousands of dollars. Other Trump tariffs remain in place on many other goods. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports that includes on fresh produce.
The rise in fresh produce prices is expected to disproportionately affect low-income families who need a larger share of their income to cover essential goods like food. Increased grocery bills may force these households to adjust their spending habits, pushing them toward cheaper processed foods. The new 25% tariffs are expected to drive up the cost of fruits like avocados, tomatoes, and strawberries. Carrots and lettuce are also expected to get more expensive. More than 40 million people in the U.S. rely on government food assistance programs like SNAP and WIC. According to the USDA, several states have high participation rates in SNAP, including Louisiana, Oregon, and New Mexico. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.